Who's our IT guy? Who's there? Oh. Showed up on my watch. Welcome to the Town of Cicero Planning Board meeting. Would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ashley, would you lead us off, please?
Sure. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business is the approval of the August 3rd minutes. Everybody's had a chance to review. Any questions or comments? Do we have a motion to approve? Do
Motion to approve.
we have a second? Second. Mrs. Hogan,
yes.
Mr. Abbey,
Yes.
Mr. Blas.
Yes.
I vote yes, minutes are approved. Now we will open the meeting to public input. Folks, is there anybody here that would like to address the board? Good evening.
Hi,
Hi there.
my name is Diane Goodwin. This is my husband, Patrick Goodwin.
Maiden name.
What? Do they need to know that? I had,
Maiden name's a Mel.
yes. All right, last meeting, Daryl Judas proposed a doggy daycare at 5703 Route 31 in Cicero. Our property is 5709. We own that property on that State Route 31. Our big concern is our daughter lives there. We bought the house after my dad passed away, and my daughter lives there. It's not a rental, as he says, and he knows it. This proposal for a doggy daycare, that is not an appropriate site, first of all. I mean, that property is literally almost in our backyard. The noise factor, I have some concerns about them stating that they're allowed to have 30 dogs to 2 staff people. And they say they're going to have 20 dogs. Who would monitor that aspect of it? First, there's a question. Yeah, the noise factor, 30 dogs. And that yard is not fenced in. Who's to say the dogs weren't coming to our yard? The smell, where is he going to put the dumpster? Who's going to pick up the waste? A lot of concerns.
Yeah, maintenance for the property. If I downloaded the photos I have of the state of condition of the property, plus what he's done to our fence line, we actually are 12.9 feet if you look at our survey, and the fence is at 12 feet. So there's 9 inches beyond that fence, and he has constantly hit the fence. He drove his rowboat through our fence, and I asked him to repair it. Finally, it did get repaired, and I asked him who did the repair in that, because I wanted to question the gentleman on where he got his pickets. Because my father-in-law took down the dog pen that he had his dog outside, and those lats were put in that shed and they were missing now. So I never got a response to that. There was a tree growing out of the corner of the building, the block. He cut that down and he placed the wood on our property line, right next to the fence. So everybody knows that wood decays. That would damage and cause moisture to sit and rot the fence. He hit our rail fence in the front, and I approached him with that and asked him what he planned on doing And he didn't say anything to me. Well, he took a rail off our back rail fence, placed it where he broke the other one, because how I know he did this is because he drove screws, 6-inch Phillips head screws into the neck of the rail. And then that was in the back, laying on the ground. In that, there was 3 trees on the property, well, actually 4. What kind of trees were those? Box
Box
elders.
elders.
Box elders. I cut down 3. He came to me and he said, "Are you going to be cutting that tree down?" And I said, I wasn't planning on it. Because I wanted to see what he was going to do, because I had asked somebody who knew him that was working for his plow business, whether or not he'd be willing to go in halves. Because if anybody saw a picture of it, the big branch sat over the roof, and that roof, I believe, is not safe. I think an engineer needs to go in there and evaluate the structure, because he did cut down part of it. But I went ahead and spent $1,500, and I spent $2,000 cutting down the other 3. So I took care of all that problem along the fence, except for the contractor who I had cut down the tree stipulated, well, the person that owns the property next to you didn't cut enough off of it, and that is still over the roof, and it still presents a problem if our guys happen to drop the limbs. He went ahead and when my father-in-law was still alive, there was bricks. Apparently he dug up a brick step. I don't know if it was in the old Smith house that was next door to it. And all those bricks were thrown on our property line, and they were actually over the property line. I gathered them all up, put the plywood next to his building and stacked the bricks on top of it. Okay. He's gone into the building and he structurally took out, I don't know if they were supporting walls or unsupported walls, but that is illegal, because he has to get a permit to go ahead and do any kind of structural redesign of the interior of that building, be it structural wall or not. So I don't know. And how I know this, he took 20 bags, well, maybe not 20, I apologize, probably about 12 bags, filled them full of sheetrock and 2x4s and threw them against my fence. And he also took sheetrock, laid it up against the fence with boards, and that got that torrential rain we had 3 weeks ago, saturated that sheetrock. And you know what materials will do to a wooden fence. It'll rot it. In that, if you look down our fence line, you'll see where he's changed the shape of the fence. So now it's concave instead of straight. In that, my father-in-law always had a contention with that property line. In that, and if you look at the property survey, it says 2 foot off, but that 2 foot off means is it's 2 foot off the property line. That doesn't mean that to Mr. LeJudas. I believe he believes that means that my fence is 2 foot over on his property. And what he wants to do is he wants to take his snow off his driveway, which is deteriorated asphalt, in that it's in very poor shape. He wants to push that all over onto the right of way in the southeast corner. And it's going to be right on top of a telephone pole in that. And he's going to push that snow, and I'm sure he'll use salt and whatnot, into the ditch area and onto our property. Because I believe he does not know where the property line, nor does he care, because he did try to buy the property. When Robert Amell passed away. And he got the three Amell children to agree, but he couldn't come up with the money. He wanted them to hold the mortgage. And when Jeff who was, of course, the Madison County DA, and now is a lawyer who graduated from SU Law School, he went ahead and looked into his credit rating. He didn't even have a C- rating for credit.
Let me just interrupt you for a second.
Yes.
Obviously, there's history between the neighbors, and I can appreciate your concern with that. I kind of want to focus on what's in front of us as far as site plan application.
Right,
Well,
Loose,
okay,
like, the barking certainly is an issue. Snow is an issue, but so I'd like to
Yeah.
focus on that type of thing.
right, the whole snow removal, like, does he own that company? Is he renting that space for that company? We don't know. And what is going to happen with that CNY plowing? I didn't really hear that brought up. I heard the snow removal part brought up, which is a big issue.
So should have started, I'd let you know this is your chance to communicate with us your concerns. It's not a question and answer type of thing,
no.
but I will tell you, he
right.
did say that he's going to remove all the vehicles from the site, right?
Yes.
Right.
So what I would like you to do is make your presentation on what your concerns are relative to the site plan application.
Yes.
Okay,
and
the
it-
site plan application is, she
Nice.
doesn't know whether or not it's gonna turn into a kennel. Cause she doesn't know whether or not the dogs are gonna go and be overnight or not. In that, they're not supposed to. She said she wasn't gonna do that, but she wasn't 100% sure
It's not allowed.
in that.
won't be
did you
allowed.
say It's not allowed?
And,
Will not be allowed.
and the day of the time of operation, 6 AM, our daughter sleeps till 8 AM. And she gets up and she leaves and goes to work at 9 AM. In that, so people driving in there, are they gonna be using their horn to alert the people that they have arrived? Or are they gonna be considerate to the neighbors and not beat their horn? And stuff like that. These are things that I worry about. And also, again, like the inside of the building, how are they gonna structure it? And they're gonna have a run on the northwest corner. The way it's gonna be from the plan is, it's gonna be looks like 6 feet out from the building and run all the way back in the back.
The fenced area.
Yes, and there's a tractor trailer that's been sitting there and I don't know how long. You know, and I heard that in the meeting that was gonna be addressed and moved and taken care of in that. And I don't even know why he even got a chance to put that on that property.
Well, the biggest concern is the noise. I mean, I've never heard of a doggy daycare. I've never seen a doggy daycare right next to a house. All the ones I've seen, Carms, there's one in East Syracuse,
There was one on Route
doggy
11.
daycare. It's where Nick's Diner used to be. It's not next to any homes where it would cause a
Residential.
problem with noise. Biggest concern. And smell.
'Cause I want the dogs to be safe too, in that. And I don't know how safe that structure is
Understood.
in that, and the people that work there. You know, I don't want to all of a sudden find out that the place is on fire and that our house is on fire too. In that, because I gave pictures and I submitted them to the code enforcer. And I was really concerned about that wire that was all the way out of the box down on the ground. In a low water area. That could have, being that the building still had electricity going to it, it could have been an electrocution
He
problem.
doesn't upkeep his properties very well. Mowing lawns, like, that one next to us, or Guy Smith that he owns, that Guy Smith used to own is always very high grass. This year he is because he wants to pass this doggy daycare, but before that, you'd see it very high. Doesn't maintain it.
Well, his basic thing in it, the way I understand it, he's gonna be the landlord. And they're gonna have to maintain it because it's gonna be their business, correct?
I don't know the specifics of the lease agreement.
That's what our
Well-
other concern would be is how well he would maintain
Is-
the safety of the occupants.
Is there a certain distance of, where property is to have a doggy daycare? Is there like any guidance? Like you can just put one anywhere, or is there any rules to that? Or-
We will look at that.
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, I know all the property along 31 is zone commercial.
It is, but I mean, a doggy day, a store is one thing. Doggy daycare is a whole other issue, thing. And no, he did not discuss it with us prior. Absolutely not.
Okay, anything else?
No,
I very much appreciate your coming out and taking the time to express your concerns. It'll be considered.
Thanks.
we like him to be a good neighbor and unfortunately we question that.
Thank you. Thank you. Judy or Nancy? You're the only two left. Have a good night. So our one and only agenda item is a proposed massage therapy. The applicant told us she wasn't going to be here. She was here at the last meeting. The planning board requested letters from the neighbors. We've received those letters. And so with that, I'll open up to any questions or comments.
Letters
No.
positive, negative?
Letters are positive.
Yeah.
They're aware and have no concern.
That's what we asked for, and
I remember in the last one, I think we were talking about, limitations that she'll only be used for one client at a time, no more than 2 cars, and the applicant will be limited to 8:30 to 6:30 PM. Is that still the case?
Yes, as far as I know. Yep. We need seeker.
Yes.
I'll move for the standard seeker. Do we have a second?
second,
Mrs. Hogan,
Yes.
Mr. Abbey,
yes,
Mr. Blah.
Yes.
And I vote yes for seeker. Seeker passes. Neil, would you propose a motion for approval, please?
yes, you're going to move for the adoption of a resolution approving the application known as Marion Reynolds 8318 Parker House Path, proposed home occupation. This approval is strictly conditioned on the following. One, the use shall be limited to one client at any given time with no more than 2 cars in the driveway at any given time. 2, the hours of operation per the application shall be limited to 8:30 AM to 6 PM.
I'm just thinking, there was some discussion about the sign. I mean, the code says it's got to be in a window. Do we need to, she wanted to put it in the driveway. Do we need to mention that at all?
Any sign that you would want to install would have to be per code, meaning in the window. So she'd have to comply with code. That wouldn't have to be part of the resolution.
Very good. Would any-
That's in the form of a motion?
do we have a second?
Yes.
Mrs. Hogan,
Yes.
Mr. Abbey,
Yes,
Mr. Bloss,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Any questions, comments from anybody? Do we have a motion to adjourn? Do
Motion to adjourn.
we have a second?
second.
Meeting is adjourned.